All right, so this is the Fabulous Friday session on spreadsheets, and we're going to talk about sorting spreadsheets, filtering spreadsheets, hiding columns, and also something that somebody brought up today was they were wondering how to be notified if somebody changed the spreadsheet. So we're going to talk about notification rules. So this is just kind of an extension of the TQ Day training a couple weeks ago. So the first thing I thought would be good to talk about would be the notification rules. So let's say that you shared this spreadsheet with somebody and you want to know if they make a change, you want to be aware of it instead of having to go into your drive and digging through and finding if they made a change. That's actually pretty easy. So if you have your spreadsheet, you just go up to the Tools menu and notice it says Notification Rules under that. Okay, Notification Rules under the Tools menu, and notice what it says. It says that, well, here's my email address. So it's going to notify me with an email, and I can make a choice here. Anytime any change is made at all, or I can set it so that if somebody submits a form, that data goes into a spreadsheet, and I can have the spreadsheet notify me that somebody submitted a form. So that's really a good thing if you want to know like who's signing up for something, if you're using Google Forms, or anytime a change is made. It'll send you an email. So here's some other choices down at the bottom. You can have it notify you daily. So it's just a summary of all the changes that were made, if any. Or you can have it email you right away. So anytime anybody gets in there, or anytime anybody submits a form and it goes into that spreadsheet, you can have it email you right away. So that's that. That's how you do it. And then you just, I will do this and I choose that one just for fun. And I will say save. And hopefully it does something. Oh, there we go. So now here's my rule. And so it says that if any changes are made, then send a digest email. And I can get rid of this notification rule or change it if I want to. Okay, so that's how to get notified if a spreadsheet is changed. It's really handy if you're sharing a spreadsheet with somebody. Okay, so the rest of the time we're going to talk about just kind of sorting and filtering and data and things like that. Here's a sample spreadsheet on my screen. It's just with some made up stuff. I have a bunch of students and some data about them, okay? So if I want to sort this, let's say I want to sort this by grade level, okay? A couple easy ways to do that. I can click in this column. Let's say I want it sorted here by grade. What I can do is, when I hover over this column, notice the little arrow to the right of the column. If I click on that little arrow, I can sort the whole sheet based on this column. So notice what happens here. I've got all these random grades here. And if I click this, sort the sheet from like lowest to highest or A to Z, it reorders the whole sheet. Now this is kind of interesting. I wanted you to see this. If I do that, notice what happens here. It goes from low numbers to high numbers, but then it moved my column headers down here to the bottom. Okay, so I'm gonna undo that. And the way to do this without having it mess up your column headers is, if you remember that TQ day, we froze that first row. So what I'm going to do is go over here and see these dark gray kind of lines on this empty cell here. I'm going to drag that down. And what that does is it puts kind of this gray bar under that first row and it freezes that first row. So now if I do a sort, like if I sort this column, notice what happens. It keeps my column headers up here and it just sorts the data. So that's kind of a handy thing. So freezing that first row is pretty important if you're sorting. You can also, if you want to, freeze the columns too, if you want to, just by dragging these things. So that's just sorting. You can sort by any column you want. I'll sort by name here, or you can sort by, I have a fake school column, sort by that, and it changes the whole sheet. So that's sorting. You can also, up in the data menu, you can sort there too. I just think it's a lot easier just to grab the column and hit the little arrow and sort right there. Okay, so a sort does the whole sheet. It sorts the whole sheet, but filtering let's say that you have, 500 students on this spreadsheet, and you really don't need to see a lot of these students. You just want to look at 1 or 2 elementaries, okay, for instance. What you want to do there is, instead of just a sort, and you still have all those 500 things, you want to like just not see those other ones. What you can do is use a filter. And I'm going to move this over. 2 ways to do a filter. Let's see. Here we go. Up in the data menu, you'll notice there's the filter item there. Or if you see your toolbar, there's a little filter icon button there. Okay, so if I click up like in one of these columns, whatever, and I click on filter, okay, look at what it does. It puts these another set of little arrows inside those cells. Okay, so let's say that I just want to look at some elementaries, student from some elementaries. I'm going to click on this little arrow in that school column. And let's say I really don't want to see every school. I'm going to clear the ones. Let's say I just want to look at the middle schools. So I want to see this middle school and that middle school. Okay, I'm going to hit OK. And now what I see is just the students in the middle schools that I selected. All right. If I wanted to change that, I can come back here to, now it's got this little filter icon. And I can say, well, I don't really want those anymore. I want the elementaries. I can just look at the elementary students. Okay. And if I turn off the filters, just by clicking on that filter button again in my toolbar, notice that all my data shows up again. Okay, so the filter doesn't lose your data, it just kind of doesn't show things that you don't want to see. So that's that. Let me just, one more time, just for practice. If you go up to the, go in here, hit the filter. Let's say I want to filter by grade. This is interesting too. Let's say that I just want to see like grades 4 on up. Okay, I can click on this little arrow key. And now instead of filtering by values, I want to filter by condition. Okay, so let's say I want to see anything like anything that's greater than 3 in this column. Let's see what happens. Okay, so there what it is doing now is it's filtering, and it's only showing me things, lines in here that are where this column is greater than 3. So it can be a pretty handy thing to, if you have a ton of data to look through to filter things. Okay, last thing that I want to talk about is hiding columns. So let's say, for instance, you are looking at this data, and just imagine a huge spreadsheet with a lot of columns. What you can do is you can hide columns. So let's say that I really don't want to look at discipline referrals of this column for some reason. That's really easy to do. You just click on the column, click on that letter up here, okay? That's select. I'm going to right click on that column. Okay, when I right click, I get a whole bunch of options here. And what I'm going to do, if you notice right in the middle, it says hide the column. So just watch my screen here. When I hide the column, notice what happens, okay? It doesn't show me column D anymore, but it shows me little tiny arrows up here. See those? So if you can hide as many columns as you want to, just to make your life easier and only see the things you want to see. To get them back, it's a little tricky. You have to kind of click until you see this little pointy finger cursor. And if you click on one of those little right or left arrows, there you go. That column is back. Okay. So just one more time, let me show you. I'm going to right click on this column now, and I'm going to hide that column. And there it's gone. But now, if I want to bring it back, I have these little arrows up at the top. And if I click on one of those arrows, there it's back. Okay, so it's a quick thing today. We talked about setting up notification rules, sorting data, and filtering data. And the difference is sorting just keeps all of your data on the screen. Filtering just shows you the data that you want to see. And then hiding columns is a way to just not see whole columns at a time.